All right, so day 3 here at Hardway. Today we're going to take a break from the turbo kit updates, and instead we are going to work on a converter swap. I recently had taken my converter out, sent it down to Suncoast, and had them freshen it up for me. I had a couple issues with the lockup clutch. I think that the previous valve body I had may have had something to do with that. So now that we have this Extreme, we've had good luck with the converter that's in it now that I was borrowing from my buddy Austin. But I finally have my Suncoast back, and today I'm going to be putting that in. So I'm here all by myself. Well, I say by myself, I'm working by myself. Ryan's over there wiring up on another race car. This is supposed to be a diesel shop, but instead we have one gas racing truck here and one really badass X275 turbo gas car over there. So pretty funny that you come to a diesel shop to get fast, but it's what we do. All right, so I have the trans out. I'm about to do the converter swap. Converter is here. That's the fresh pizza pie Suncoast had done up for me. So trans is out. New converter's about to go in. But beforehand, I noticed I had sprung a pretty decent oil leak. So I went ahead and got a new rear main seal. Gonna put that in because I think that's my culprit. So I'm gonna pull the flex plate, gonna check around that and make sure that that's that. If it's not the rear main seal, the only other thing I can figure is that possibly the valley cover's got a leak in it, but it's weird because I have no oil on top of the bell housing, no nothing, but there's a pretty substantial amount under the oil pan, on the starter, on the oil filter, and the pan gasket itself isn't leaking. It's definitely coming from a little higher than that. So the best I can assume is that it is the rear main, so I'm gonna check that out. Oh yeah, so you can see we got a pretty good bit of oil under here. I've done my best to keep the bottom of the pan and all this stuff, this area clean, but I noticed a big collection of it here, as you can tell. And this basically only has a couple of idles across the parking lot on it. And obviously this up here I'm not able to clean with any sort of regularity. But something around here seems to not be happy. It looks like there's a mist up there. Not sure if it's just getting flung up there by the flywheel or if it's just leaking from this area. I'm not real sure. There seems to be a pretty good little puddle of it there. That may be the culprit. Really hard to tell. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this new gasket on anyway, new bolts, completely new rear cover, and hopefully that fixes our issue. All right, rear main is out. Got it in there, a little bit of oil dripping in the bucket, so just gotta get this gasket off next. We'll be on with the new one. All right, so I was looking around here, I couldn't really find any damage. I started on the bottom, working my way around, and I looked up here, didn't see anything, and then I was like, oh, that'll do her. So I don't think I peeled that off when I was removing the gasket. So I'm thinking this may have been the culprit the whole time. May have been up there. I was looking around the actual seal here and it all feels pretty good. No torn edges, no nothing. So it's hard to say. This guy over. Everything looks pretty good in there. So, but fun fact, you can always tell a good LS as long as they have this color here and there's no gunk inside. This cover's never been pulled. There's no gunk here. This here, boys, is a good shitbox LS. All right, so we got the new cover and gasket here, and my oh my, did these things look fine. Definitely much better shape than the others. The seal is complete there all the way around. So anxious to get this in. Hopefully this fixes my oil leak. I always say that there are two things that are absolutely in your control when you show up to the track, and one of those is that your car leaks. If your car leaks, you absolutely had control of that before you got to the track. There's no excuse for that. There's no reason why. I mean, there's just absolutely very little reason in my mind that you should ever have a leak, or at least a preventable one, at the track, especially something important like oil or trans. If you're leaking one of those things, just fix it. Just do the right thing and fix it before you ruin the surface for somebody else, before it gets its way under your rear tires and you find yourself in the wall. It's just bad. So fix your leaks. Ugh. So Ryan and I went to eat Buffalo Wild Wings the other day, but I don't think anything is as spicy as freaking brake clean on your lips. God. Out with a Circle D that my buddy Austin was gracious enough to loan me, and back in with my Suncoast. So just one interesting thing I just noticed while I happen to be looking at them is it seems like the pump design's pretty similar as far as the fin covers here, but if you look, Circle D's has this belly in here, whereas my Suncoast is almost flat. It's very small. I don't know. I don't know what difference that makes. I'm not a converter specialist, but just a difference I noticed. But the fact is that it was just too loose for me. It's a fantastic converter. It did its job excellently. It was built and performed exactly the way it was intended, I'm sure, because Austin has, and this thing is clean, but he has a really nice extended cab. I think it's a 99 or 2000 model. He'll probably kill me for not knowing that. But either way, it's like a new body style, step side, extended cab, four-wheel drive, nitrous truck. So it was a 5.3, stock 5.3 original to the truck. On a lot of nitrous. He had a standalone kit on it, spraying way more than any street truck with a stock ass 5.3 deserved to be on, but he was doing it. And this converter was spec'd for him, and the thing did great for him. But with me, with being turbo, probably a little bit more power now, a lighter truck, this, that, and the other, just the setup wasn't ideal. He had a little more gear than I do, so there's some mismatches there. So like I said, it performed probably exactly the way it was intended to be built and did flawless for me, except for it just being a little bit wrong. It was just too far on the loose side. And then with me wanting to apply more power than what I have now, it was only going to exacerbate that problem. So the more torque you apply to a converter, the freer or looser they tend to act. So back in with the Suncoast. Hopefully we have no more lockup clutch issues. Try to pick up some more efficiency that we had lost by going to the looser Circle D, get some of that efficiency back with the Suncoast, and maybe we'll make some of them good passes we've been looking for. So another interesting thing I noticed is I picked these guys up, kind of move them around a little bit, and I noticed that my Suncoast felt a ton lighter than the Circle D. I don't really know what you could do differently inside to make the weight be very different, but I was curious to see how much it is. So I topped my Suncoast off of fluid completely as much as I could fill. Normally I only put a quart or two in there to kind of get it just like some clutches, some lubrication before I install it. This time I went ahead and pretty much filled it up as much as I could. I let it bubble down, put some more in it, yada yada yada, to try to make sure the weights were as good as I could, to make sure that the only difference in weight wasn't just due to fluid. But I busted out the nitrous scale here that we use, and I'm gonna check out and see what the differences are between these two. So let's see, let's do this guy on. All right, so the Circle D comes in weighing at 41.6 pounds. Now, if I had to guess, there's still a pretty good bit of fluid in there. So all in all, the thing's probably around 40 pounds dry. I mean, that's just a guess based off how much fluid's in there. I'm not sure, but all right, so let's weigh the Suncoast now. All right, so wow, 37 pounds. So the other one was 41 and a half, basically 41.4, 41.6, back and forth. This one's right at 37.2. So dang, nearly a 5 pound difference in weight just between the two. And there's definitely not a 5 pound difference in fluid between the two. So something about the way that these guys are constructed leads up to a 5 pound difference. That's interesting for sure. So I'm not sure if it's the cover design, the thickness of the cover, if it's due to pieces inside, but man, 5 pounds, that's pretty wild there. Terrain is going back in and we had an accident. A bad one. I spilled my beer. I have to do better. I have to. There are a couple of parts about doing this trans by yourself that are pretty hard. The biggest of which is probably doing the transfer case by yourself. So there's no good way to pull this trans down without pulling the transfer case too. I've tried finagling with it. I've tried doing this. I've tried doing that. And it's just as much of a pain in the ass as it is to just pull the thing. But doing that by yourself is pretty hard. So I give myself at least one beer reward for doing that by myself, in and out. All right, so it is right around 10 o'clock or so, as if I'm looking at my watch. Anyway, it's right around 10 o'clock. I have just finished up pretty much everything on the truck, been kind of taking my time, going over things, cleaning stuff, checking stuff out while it's apart, doing whatever. I may have had a Bud Light or two. Don't tell Michelob's. They're still my favorite. So I got the trans in, converter in. Just got to top it off with fluid. We got to put the dipstick tube in first and then top it off with fluid, and we will be ready to go. So this is going to wrap up day 3 of me taking Clifford, a gas truck, to a diesel shop in order to get faster, or better at least. Maybe not faster, but we'll see what happens. So anyway, thanks for watching with us. Check in next time, and hopefully we'll be getting ready to go back to some racing. We'll see ya.